Welcome back, Bookies, and welcome to another episode of A Chapter at a Time. Oh, I have missed you guys dearly. And with that being said, you know why you're here, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I don't know if you guys seen the last short that I posted, but I introduced a new book to you guys called
The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates.
And with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and rate. Oh, so I am doing a mid book review on that book for you guys right now. And my rating so far would have to be an 8.5. And hopefully, by the time I get to the end of this video, you will fully understand why I gave you that rating. And you will also be able to comment below on your ratings, your thoughts. I hope I opened so many thoughts, so many questions for you guys that we can have a really good conversation. So let's jump right into it. So I'm going to start with the characters in this book so far that are leaving the most impact on me. And so, of course, Hiram. The first thing I think about when I think about Hiram is this boy is the sweetest for the things that he is going through in this book right now. Hiram is one of the sweetest souls that you could read about. Especially the way that he loves Sophia. Y'all, when they get captured, when they're trying to escape. Oh, also, by the way, I should have said, I'm going to say it now. This video is going to be full of spoilers. So, if you don't want any spoilers, just of yet you're not caught up to about chapter 17, 18, hit pause on this video, save it. When you get to about chapter 17, 18, come back to this video. But for my people who are ready to dive right into it, when Sophia and Hiram try to escape and they get caught, the way that Hiram is so worried about Sophia and not even caring about his well-being or what's about to happen to him next, because let's be real, back in those days, he's lucky that he didn't get lynched. So for him to be thinking about Sophia more than himself in this moment, it breaks my heart. And I don't think Hiram deserves that. Moving on. The next character that I think would have the most impact on me at the moment actually would be Thina. Thina? Yes, I think Thina is how you pronounce her name. But I think she has also gone through a lot, as most Black people during this time. And the fact that she took Hiram in, loves Hiram the way that she loves Hiram, I think that if there was a book written just about Thina alone, I would be okay with reading that book. I think that she has a lot of stories to tell, a lot of things to teach. You know, I think there's a lot to Thina that I want to explore a little bit more. I'm very curious about Thina. Corinne also. Corinne, even though she could have been honest with Hiram from the beginning about her mission, even though I will say, and this could be a good topic to talk about too, how it is said that women are too emotional. However, Miss Corinne is handling her business and she's doing it without emotion, which is why I think that she didn't tell Hiram about Sophia in the first place, because Hiram is a little bit on the sensitive side and she didn't want him making decisions off of emotions, which he has been doing. So Corinne is making moves off of business and not emotions. And she of course she likes Hiram, and I think she feels bad about not telling him the truth. However, she gotta do what she gotta do. And now that a woman is finally standing on business and not emotion, is a problem. So let me know what y'all think about that as well. Cause that's I really like Corinne. I really do. I think that she means well. I think that she is just doing it in the way that she knows best, the way that she thinks is best, which is fair. I mean,
It's fair.
another character that I want to bring up in this book is George Parks. So, George Parks is the character that betrays Hiram and Sophia, and he's the reason that they end up getting caught instead of, they probably would have been able to escape and probably would have made it if it wasn't for him. But because of him, they ended up getting caught. So I don't know if you guys saw my video on The Vanishing Half where I talked about it not being so easy to judge somebody when you haven't gone through what they've gone through. It's easy to say what you would do. However, if you've never gone through that situation, you really don't know. So in this instance, it's hard to say, oh, how dare he? When the reality of the situation is, you don't know if he was under pressure to rat them out. You don't know if them white men came to him and said, if you don't give us the name of everybody who you know is going to escape, we'll burn everything down. You will no longer be free. Because, like I said, even though they were legally on paper free, they weren't actually free. So you don't know what he was going through. You don't know why he had to betray Hiram and Sophia. Is it annoying? Am I pissed off? Absolutely. However, like I said, you don't know fully what is going on with George. And that is what I'm interested in. I want to know if there is some behind the scenes moment where he was threatened or he was forced to do what he did. I truly want to believe the best in people. I truly want to believe that people aren't so evil that they would just do stuff like that for fun or for the betterment of their sake. But again, could be me being naive, but so the next topic I want to talk about now is the theme of the book. And the theme of this book so far, being halfway through, it seems to be memory. Memory seems to be linked to everything that is going on here and everything that they want to achieve. That being freedom, power, that all seems to circle back around memory. And a good example being Hiram. Hiram has this amazing memory, right? Like he has photographic memory. He's able to remember everything from conversations to things that's happening, everything, right? Photographic, right? So with that being said, why is it that there are such specific holes in his memory? And those holes usually are around his mom, Rose. So I personally think that memory is the theme of this book because the more that he remembers what happened in those holes in his memory, the more that he's able to control his power, the more that he's able to conduct. And if you aren't familiar with that term in the book, conduction is when he's able to use his power and teleport from one place to another. And he's usually able to do those things through a memory, specifically a memory of his mom, and being in a body of water. So, with that being said, memory, freedom, power, those definitely have to be the theme of this book. I always want to know what y'all think, though. What do y'all think is the theme of this book? What do you think Ta-Nehisi is trying to say in his book? The next thing I want to get into is the flow of the book. And now, the flow of the book would honestly be probably the main reason that I gave this book an 8.5 out of 10. I am enjoying this book, the story. However, if I'm being completely honest, I can see how people could be confused with reading this book, especially if you've read a couple of chapters and you're like, I don't. There's too much going on. I can't put the pieces together, and you give up. I can totally understand how you can be confused. However, this is not one of those books where you can read before bed. This is not one of those books where you can read a couple of chapters and decide whether or not you want to keep reading based off of your understanding of each situation in the book, if that makes sense. This is the kind of book that the things that are happening on page 5, and you're like, I don't understand why this is happening, those all get explained on page 50. So, what I will say is if you want something to read just to take your mind off things leisurely, you don't want to think too much, you don't want to connect the pieces, this might not be the book for you. However, if you have the time and if you like a little puzzle where this point connects to that point, this is definitely the book for you. A good example of that, and I almost fell short of that as well, because especially when we opened the book, when Hiram is driving his half brother down the bridge and the cart falls into the water, and it talks about seeing what the book says, her at the moment dancing on the bridge. My thought was, who is this crazy girl dancing on the bridge and why is she distracting all these people? It kind of took me a long time to realize that the her that Hiram was seeing on the bridge wasn't really there. That was Hiram trying to fill in that memory. That was the beginning stages of him conducting. It took me a while to understand that, and it took me a while to realize that that was his mom that he was seeing. Um, it's like I said, it's not one of those books where page 1 and 2 are going to explain everything. Page 1 is going to set it up, and then page 100 is going to finish that. Is going to dunk it for you. So I will say, if you are halfway, if you have stuck with it, keep sticking with it. It will pay off. You will understand. I am starting to understand. To me, the way that Ta-Nehisi writes this book is like poetry. You're not going to get it at first, but stay with it. Pay attention. Pay attention. Every character, every event is connected to each other. They're equally as important. Everything in this book is important. Pay attention. That would be my only note. And that is why I would give it an 8.5, because I also found myself having to reread a couple of things. I would reread a full chapter if I need to. That's how much this book is like poetry. You have to kind of digest it, and you have to break it apart. To me, I'm okay with that, because after you break it apart, the story is really good. So far, it takes you to different places that you didn't even know were about to happen. There are so many moments in this book where I'm like, okay, this is making sense now, so this should happen. And then we do a complete 180 and something else happens. I love that. It keeps me on my toes. Um, but like I said, this is one of those books that you have to pay attention. And I am such an in the bed reader right before I fall asleep that I had to actually switch my routine when it came to reading this book, because that was not working. I was waking up and like, okay, I know what I read, but I don't know what I read. So with that being said, like I said, you got to pay attention in this book. You absolutely have to pay attention. So I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited to hear what you guys have to say. I want to know how you guys are feeling. What characters are sticking out the most to you? Which characters are pissing you off? Y'all, this is a heavy read. Um, it's really hard to read about the things that are happening to the characters in this book, especially knowing that a lot of the things that are happening in this book actually happened in life. So, with that being said, how are you guys feeling? I also want to do an emotional check in with you guys. Is it too much? Is it a lot? But you know, you're willing to get through the tears and keep reading. How are you guys feeling? Also, do we have any predictions? I want to know everything. Please don't be shy. If you are shy, you know, that's okay too. DM me. We can have a little private conversation about how you're feeling about the book. It doesn't have to be so public. I just want to hear from you guys. But for my people who don't mind, please leave a comment. If there's something that I said that you're like, I actually don't agree with that, let me know. Okay, I want to know. Just because if you have a different opinion, that doesn't mean anything. That's actually a great thing. It means that we're not all out here being bobbleheads and thinking the same. Okay. So, like I said, let me know. It's always great talking to you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on A Chapter at a Time. A chapter at a time, yeah.